Hello, welcome back to another video on HJ Doctor Who. I have my window closed, so there's no background noise, and my fan is off, and it's like 26 degrees, so I'm probably gonna die of heat stroke within the next 5 minutes, but what the hell. That's how dedicated I am to making a video for this channel, and let's go. So today we're gonna be doing top 10 Doctor Who villains according to this random guy from Dorset. It's not really all that specific, like there's no specific order to it really, up until like the top 3 or 4 perhaps. It's Doctor Who, so it's almost impossible to pick just 10 villains to put in a list, given how there's like literally thousands of them probably by this point. And to be honest, this list will probably change about 14 times a week, so fuck it, do it anyway. Yeah, there's only really one rule, and that's just any villain is eligible. Any villain from the entire Doctor Who universe, whether that be the main show, classic and modern, the spin-offs like Sarah Jane, Torchwood, Class, and audios and books, like any villain from any corner of the Whoniverse that I feel strongly about will be on this list. Starting off, number 10, we're going to put the Ice Warriors on here. I really like the Ice Warriors. I think most people do. And yeah, they just scrape into the top 10 margin for me. I feel like I've got a bit of a soft spot for them because when I first got into classic Doctor Who, the first full classic story that I ever watched and owned on DVD was The Seeds of Death. And I just really love that story. I've got a bit of a soft spot for it. Regardless of what anyone thinks of the quality of the episode itself, I'll always like it for that, and yeah. And of course the Ice Warriors are just a brilliant design in general. Something I really do like about the Ice Warriors is they have kind of a unique standing in Doctor Who, where yeah, they are villains for the most part, but they're the kind of Doctor Who alien race that doesn't have to be a villain. The thing with the Ice Warriors is they can be either a villain or an ally, depending on the episode. Like, in the Troughton era, they were villains, and in the Pertwee era, in the Curse of Peladon, they are allies, but then when they come back in the Monster of Peladon, they are villains again. They're one of the few villains in Doctor Who that can be reasoned with successfully, as has been proven in both of their New Who appearances. I just think that's a really cool thing to be doing with a Doctor Who alien, you know? Yeah, Ice Warriors, love them. Number 10. Alright, number 9, we're going to put the Silence. The Silence is just a really cool concept, the whole memory wiping thing, plus their physical design is like, I'm going to say it's iconic, honestly. It's one of the most iconic alien races to come out of the new series, I think. Plus Series 6 is probably one of the most nostalgic eras in Doctor Who for me personally. It's just something I've really gravitated towards, especially in 2011. I just really love the Silence, honestly. Their design combined with their abilities and the concept, it's just really cool and unique. Definitely one of the best things Moffat's ever come up with. Not sure what more I can really say about them. Number 8, we're going to go back to the classic era with the Krynoids. Now, this may just be because I watched The Seeds of Doom a couple weeks back, but the Krynoids I just think are a really brilliant Doctor Who villain. While they've sadly only appeared on screen in one story so far, I know they're in Big Finish and stuff, but I just want them to come back in the new series. Yeah, in the last video I said that Seeds of Doom was my favourite 4th Doctor story, so I guess this kind of ties into that maybe. But yeah, I think the thing I like about the Krynoids is they're just a completely unrelenting parasitic menace. Parasitic alien plants that are just completely ruthless. That's a brilliant concept and I love it. Anyway, moving on. Number 7, we've got the Mara, which if you didn't know is the giant inflatable snake monster with really bad special effects from the Peter Davison era. But on the other side, we have the psychological aspect, which is what I really love. Plus, when I was younger, the whole big snake thing did kind of appeal to me as well. But gonna be honest, I kind of gravitated towards the Mara stories from the 5th Doctor's era because of the giant snake thing, because I thought that was cool. But yeah, over the years, I have come to appreciate the more psychological aspect of the Mara a lot more. It's another one of those villains that I really wish they'd bring back because I think they could do a lot with it in New Who's sort of style of storytelling. You could probably have like a real psychological horror type story, a bit like, can you imagine an episode like Midnight, but if they had like the Mara, like infiltrating a group of isolated people instead of the Midnight entity? I feel like that could work pretty well, you know? But I think the Mara is this like really interesting, abstract, conscience-based, androgynous-y, kind of ambiguous, but also mostly evil being of sorts. It's really hard to pin down the Mara, to be honest, because it's such like an abstract concept. But yeah, I really think it's one of the most interesting villains that Doctor Who's ever made, but I think it does get swept under the rug a fair bit. Jimlo, or a future showrunner, I beg of you, bring this villain back. It's one of the best. I love you forever, whoever you are, if you did this. Number 6, we've got the Great Intelligence. Yeah, the Great Intelligence, while the episodes that he's in, I wouldn't really rank a lot of them among my favourites as such. Yeah, but the Great Intelligence as a concept itself, I really like. The disembodied mind from the universe before this one of the more challenging adversaries that the Doctor's ever faced. I mean, let's be honest, the last time he appeared he did almost wipe out the Doctor's entire time stream, so I'd say he's pretty damn worthy of being on this list. Yeah, his classic appearances are great as well. The Web of Fear is a great little trans story, and I really wish someone would either recover Abominable Snowmen, or I wish they'd animate it perhaps. I feel like they will eventually, but you know. Another villain I feel like they could bring back at some point and do some more stuff with, but yeah, that probably won't happen for a while, unfortunately, but you know, I can hope. Okay, next up, the only entry on this list that doesn't come from the main show, and we're going with the 456 from Torchwood Children of Earth. You know, I only watched Torchwood for the first time, like properly, I think about 2 years ago now, but honestly I feel like it's something that I've been watching forever by this point. That's how good it is, you know, it's really easy to get invested in that show. But yeah, and yeah, Children of Earth, I'm glad I'm now part of the large group of people who have watched Children of Earth. I'm not sure where I was going with that sentence, to be honest. But yeah, the 456, pretty damn horrifying villain. I mean, the main baddies of possibly one of the bleakest things to ever happen in the Doctor Who universe. I'd say that qualifies them for a place on this list. You know, the fact that a bunch of powerful alien druggies can basically bully the entire Earth government into giving up all the kids to be sent off and just used as crack, basically, to these aliens. The fact that that almost happened, that's wow. Yeah, if you've watched Torchwood Children of Earth, then yeah, I don't think I really need to explain why I put the 456 on this list. It's just the 456. I mean, they're fucking horrifying. Even though they were defeated, you know, the lasting impact that they had on the characters in that show as well, and everything, just everything that happened, it feels like a hollow victory of sorts. Alright, number 4. This is where it's going to start being like an actual order. So this is like the actual order that I like them in from this point onwards. So yeah, of course I couldn't not include the Weeping Angels, could I? So they're going at number 4. It's the Weeping Angels. You all know and love them. While I think their impact has diminished as time's gone on, I do still think at their core they are a brilliant concept for a Doctor Who villain. But yeah, the Weeping Angels, there's a fair bit you could do with them. They're a perfect villain put into a horror story, as they have been quite a few times. And like I say, while their impact has diminished because they keep getting used and I guess overused to a certain extent, you know, they do still have an impact. Like I said, it would be mad of me to make a top 10 Doctor Who villains list and not put the Weeping Angels on there somewhere, so here they are. Number 3, we got the Cybermen. Of course, one of the big baddies. Yeah, the Cybermen, they're a brilliant villain, absolute classic, absolute staple of Doctor Who, pretty much. They're one of those villains that, gonna be honest, they don't have that many great stories, but when they have good episodes, then they are really good episodes. The best Cybermen stories are always the ones that focus on the body horror aspect of them, you know? Episodes like Still the Nemesis and Closing Time and I guess Revenge of the Cybermen, and although, you know, ones that focus more on them just being generic robotic villains that want to kill everyone. That's not how you do the Cybermen. How you do the Cybermen is the body horror stuff, and yeah, that's where I feel they are used best. Also, shout out to Spare Parts from Big Finish for being one of the best Cybermen stories ever, and an origin story for them as well. That's brilliant. I'm gonna be honest, something I've noticed with the Cybermen, I feel like the concept of the Cybermen, they're too horrifying for Doctor Who, really. Doctor Who's meant to be a family-oriented show, but the concept of the Cybermen is really too grim for them to fully explore it in Doctor Who. I feel like they dropped the ball with Torchwood having a Cyberman episode because, yeah, it was a bit more adult and mature, but in the wrong kind of way, you know, with the cyber bikini thing. Torchwood should have delved into the horror aspect of the Cybermen more, like with the scientist in that episode with all the bits of metal sticking out his head after his failed conversion. They should have done that instead of trying to make the Cybermen into a sex object. They shouldn't have tried to make a sex appeal work with the Cybermen. Why the fucking hell did they try to do that? Anyway, that's probably a rant for a whole nother video. Number 2, I'm going to lump Davros and the Daleks in together because they are kind of linked. Yeah, not much to say really about Davros and the Daleks. They're just... everything there is to say about them has been said before. They are brilliant. The biggest staple of this entire franchise, I'd say. It's just a shame that there are certain eras in this show where they're kind of used in the wrong way, but generally speaking, they're a really safe bet to use in an episode, and yeah, amazing villains. And last but not least, my personal favourite, well, it's the Master, really. I've just really loved this character overall, especially in the years since I started getting into the John Pertwee era, specifically with the Roger Delgado Master, who is, and I think always will be, the best Master, unless somebody really good comes along to top him. So yeah, there's a lot you can do with the Master. He isn't without his dud stories, obviously, but I think a lot of them, especially the earlier ones in the classic series, I think are really good. It's just one of those characters that's just like, you're supposed to hate him because he's the villain, but you just can't help but like him at times because he's just like suave and charming, especially the Delgado incarnation. Yeah, I don't know why, but he's just like my personal favourite, you know? I just feel like he's a really good villain. I mean, he was designed to be the perfect villain for the Doctor in like a Sherlock Holmes Moriarty kind of sense. I'm not that familiar with Sherlock mythos, so bear with me. So yeah, he was designed to be the perfect opposite of the Doctor, and that just makes him the best villain, really. Very quickly, I'm going to run through a few honourable mentions that I wanted to put on the list, but couldn't because I'm limiting myself to 10, and I didn't want this video to be like 3 hours long. So yeah, very quickly, a few honourable mentions. The Midnight Entity for Midnight, the Family of Blood, Tobias Vaughan from The Invasion, Syl and the Mentors are a personal favourite of mine from the 6th Doctor's era. The Valiards, another brilliant villain, I think. Fenric, also worthy of mention, brilliant villain. The Trickster from the Sarah Jane Adventures, probably one of the best villains from that spin-off. Homo Reptilia, also known as the Silurians and the Sea Devils. Sutekh from Pyramids of Mars. The Fendal's a personal favourite of mine, I really like the concept of it. And the Zygons as well, I think are pretty worthy of mention. There's probably about like 79 more that I could have put on the list, but for the sake of, you know, not wasting any more of your time, I'm gonna stop myself there. Anyway, so that was my top 10 Doctor Who villains. A list which is probably going to change by dinner time tonight, if I'm being completely honest. It was still fun to make a list regardless. I hope this video wasn't too long. I did try to kind of whiz through it a bit quicker than I normally do. I think it's going to be a decent length. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Goodbye.